Arabic anymore. It's difficult for us. And so we need more help. So what is it? One of the differences between the two is tafsir is a science and contemplation is an art. Right? That's why it's called the art of contemplation. What is the difference? A science has more steady and fast rules, has principles. So in tafsir, there is a science that you study called usul al-tafsir, principles of tafsir. That is a science. So you have the principle of tafsir, then the science of tafsir. Whereas contemplation, as I said, you won't find rules. These steps that you find here, many of them we came up with ourselves. Like from books, we extracted them and extrapolated them and so on, and we deduced them and we put them together. It is more fluid. So it is not hard and fast. It is more fluid. And so that is one of the differences. Another difference is tafsir means to understand the meaning of the words. Contemplation is reflecting on those meanings. So one is understanding the meaning, but just because you read the tafsir of Surah Fatiha doesn't actually mean it makes a difference to you. You know the meaning, you understand, you read the book, you read 10, 12 pages, you listened to a lecture, but it went in one side, came out the other side, or you just read it and you just passed on. But tadabbur means you stop and now you reflect as well. And the tafsir should enhance the contemplation, because you have more information to contemplate over. That's how it works. So there are some ways complementary as well. Who does it? Tafsir is for scholars. You can't stand up now and say, oh, I'm going to give you the tafsir of Fatiha from the top of my head. You can't do that, right? You can't say, I'm going to write a book of tafsir, and you just start making stuff up. It's not allowed. In fact, it is a grave sin. It is a sin in Islam because it is the book of Allah. You can't just explain it from your own head. Contemplation, though, is for everyone. Because it's not tafsir. You're not saying this is halal or haram. You're not saying this is Allah's meaning, or this is what Allah wants from you from this verse. You are saying this is my reflection of the Quran. This is my contemplation of the Quran. This is what I think of the Quran. The only exception to this is when we speak about the message of each surah. So as I said, we will discuss the message of each surah. That is a science. And when we come to that step, you'll see that it's actually called the science of interrelation. That's a science. The rest of it, though, is more personal. It is contemplation. And that's why every Muslim should contemplate the Quran. One of the biggest mistakes that people think or make is that they think contemplation is only for scholars, not for everyone else. Actually, that's tafsir. Tadabbur is for everyone. How do you do it? Tafsir by studying and so on. Contemplation by reflecting, like as we're doing, right? Just stopping, pausing, thinking, asking why. Rulings, tafsir can be used for, tadabbur cannot be used for. Right? So for example, a person can't say that from the story of Musa, because he traveled to seek knowledge, it is wajib for everyone to travel. That's my reflection. You must travel. So the fact that I came to you in KL, you can't study with me. You need to come to me to the UK, which by the way, you're welcome to do. No, that's not how it works. You can't make rulings. You can't just say this is the ruling of Islam. That's not how it works. That's tafsir, and it has certain principles and guidelines that you go by. This is different. This is just personal reflections and contemplations. Interdependent, you don't need necessarily to contemplate to study tafsir. So all of us have read books of tafsir and so on. You don't necessarily contemplate. However, for this one, for contemplation, you can do it without tafsir, but you won't reach the full contemplation except with tafsir. Because tafsir enhances the meaning. When you understand the background of something, you understand the different meanings the words may possess and so on, it enhances the meaning. Right? And so that is the difference. So both of them are kind of independent. Tafsir, you don't really need to contemplate. If you don't want to, you could still study tafsir. Tadabbur, you can do without tafsir as well, but you can only reach full tadabbur when you have the knowledge of tafsir as well. Okay, let's move on. Is it better to recite a little of the Quran with contemplation or a large amount? I mentioned this in passing before. There are three opinions. Number one is it is better to recite. Why? Because the reward. Every word you read of the Quran, you get 10 rewards. So some scholars said, read more, even if you don't understand, because there is more reward. The second opinion is contemplation is better. Why? Because of all the narrations that I mentioned to you of the Prophet ﷺ and the companions and so on, and because Allah mentions it as being one of the objectives of the Quran. And the third opinion is obviously do both. Combine between the two. Don't make it either or. Combine between the two as much as you can. However, if you have to choose out of the first two opinions, then consider the following points. One of the primary purposes of the Quran is contemplation. The Quran, Sunnah and understanding of the scholars indicates that the Quran was revealed to address the heart and rectify it, meaning that you must contemplate. The majority of scholars hold the opinion that recitation with contemplation is better. So opinion 2, that is the opinion of the majority as we saw from the narrations of the companions and so on. This is general throughout the year including Ramadan. So even in Ramadan, Ramadan is a time where everyone wants to read the Quran. And I know we all want to finish the Quran, and you should finish the Quran. But if every day you spent half an hour of that time also contemplating, you would find that your recitation of the Quran is greatly enhanced. That you would actually enjoy reading the Quran. You won't just finish the Quran in Ramadan, but actually none of it really made a difference to you. Because you read the Quran after Ramadan, everything goes back to normal. Contemplation makes you enjoy the Quran so that even after Ramadan, inshallah, you will continue to recite. Okay, I have a short thing that I want you to do before we take our break. I want us to audit our relationship. One of the main messages of the Quran, one of the themes that you will find in the surahs is hold yourself to account. Audit yourself. Ask yourself the question, how are you performing? Umar radiallahu anhu would say, hold yourself to account before Allah will hold you to account. And weigh your actions today before Allah weighs them for you. Because today, if you find that you have shortcomings, you have an opportunity to make them up. But on the day of judgment, if that's when you find that you had shortcomings, you have no more time for anything. Hold yourself to account. So there are a number of things that I want you to do. Sorry, wrong slide. I want you to answer these questions to yourself. You don't have to write something down if you don't want to write it down. Answer it in your mind, make notes, however you want to, but do this for yourself with that discussion, please. How often do you recite the Quran? How much of what you recite in your prayers do you understand? How often do you read the translation of the meanings of the Quran? When was the last time you read or heard the tafsir of some of the Quran? Have you ever contemplated the meanings and message of Surah Fatiha? So forget the whole Quran, just the surah that we read every single day in our prayer. And when was the last time you cried from reciting the Quran? And if you did, what was it that made you cry? What was it that made you cry? I'm going to give you like 5 minutes, inshallah. If you can just like think about this or write it down, however you want to do it, please do this now. Because what I want you to do by doing this exercise is after this course, you should find that actually you've improved. And if you haven't improved, then you need to go back over your notes and study them again. Look at them again. Maybe this was too rushed. Maybe you didn't have enough time to soak all the information in. But I want this to be a practical course where, inshallah, when you leave, you find that you've actually made a difference. That you're closer to the Quran. Okay? Okay, inshallah. So that's really for you. I don't want you to share this with me. That's really for you. I wanted to just mention before we finish this particular chapter and before we take a break, challenges which hinder contemplation. Why we don't contemplate. Some of the excuses that I hear when I ask people, how come we don't contemplate, right? Why people think that they can't contemplate or they don't contemplate. Number one is lack of connection with Allah and the Quran. So people already feel that they are so distant from the Quran that they can't contemplate. They don't know how to contemplate. They don't know, what should I do? Where do I start? What do I do? And that's why one of the purposes of this course was to tell you how to start and where to start from. Like I said yesterday, by the end of this weekend, you're not going to become experts in contemplation, right? You're not going to be like, Shaykh Nu'man Ali Khan, start doing YouTube videos and stuff. That's not the purpose. The purpose is to give you the tool so that now you know where to start and how to start. And I would love, inshallah ta'ala, in my next Al-Maghrib class in KL, hopefully if I see you again, to see how much you have progressed. And I would love for you to come to me and share your contemplations with me. Because like I said, there's not necessarily any right or wrong. Maybe what I told you about Surah An-Naml and so on, you contemplate and you come back and say, actually Shaykh, I think this is also the case. Or maybe this is another way of understanding. Makes a lot of sense. Why not? And so this is what I would like you to start doing. Share it with your family, your children, people around you. And you will find that inshallah ta'ala you get a lot of reward from this as well. Perceived busy lifestyle with little to no time. That's a big excuse. I'm so busy, I don't have time. I don't even have time to open the Quran, Shaykh, let alone contemplate. That's very common, right? We don't have time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if we don't have time for Allah and His Quran, then really what do we have time for? And I'm not being unrealistic. I'm not saying to you, give up your day job, become a monk, spend 7 hours a day. I'm saying to you, all you have to do is 15-20 minutes. If you don't have 15-20 minutes in your day, even the President of the US has 15-20 minutes of his day that he spares. Right? He goes to the gym and he does other stuff as well, he spends time with his family. 15-20 minutes, that's all you have to do. Take it step by step. One of the biggest mistakes is people think, oh, I'm going to contemplate. Today I'm going to finish Baqarah. Right? And they finish Baqarah, but by the end of it they're like dying. Right? They're like, oh, and then they never do it again for the rest of the year. Why finish Baqarah? Take one verse, that's all. 10-15 minutes. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. If you do one verse a day, in a year you will have finished Baqarah. And the way that you have done it will have made you understand Baqarah so well that you'll like see a completely different way to reciting the Quran. And what I also say is, don't just start with Baqarah, start with the surahs that you read most. Because they're the ones that you're going to connect with the most. If you start with Surah An'am or Ma'idah, you probably don't read them except in Ramadan. Start with Fatiha, Ikhlas, Falaq, Nas, Surah Kahf that you read on Fridays, Surah Mulk, Yasin, Ar-Rahman, your favorite surahs that you love to recite, you love to hear, the reciters reciting on your iPads and phones and cars and so on. Read them, learn about them first. And once you have done them, then move on. Right? And that's why inshallah in this course we'll try to focus on those types of surahs as well when we can. Number 3, poor time management. So number 2 is really number 3. Right? No one's that busy. Really we're just poor in managing our time. Right? What I would say is, if you were to ask me when, choose the time of the day, I would say after Fajr. When you wake up for Fajr, right? And this is, by the way, there's a caveat here. This is not if you go to sleep at 3 a.m. Right? You go to sleep at 3 a.m. and you wake up Fajr and you're like this, and you can barely stand and pray. I mean, if you have a good night's sleep, you sleep at a decent time, you get your good 6-7 hours. Even if you're planning to sleep after Fajr again, after Fajr pray, sit on your musalla, don't move. I just take 10-15 minutes. The house is quiet, hopefully your children are asleep. You don't have phone ringing, you don't have email coming in, you don't have to go to work yet. Take 10-15 minutes time. If you go to the masjid, do the same thing, just stay there, just wait 10-15 minutes and contemplate. And once you've done it at the beginning of the day, inshallah, it will improve your day as well. Whereas if you wait till the night, you'll be so tired and you'll have so many worries and so on, that you'll probably, even if you try to contemplate, you won't be able to do so. Number 4, we don't enjoy reciting the Quran. This is a problem. As Muslims, if we don't enjoy reciting the Quran, we can't contemplate the Quran. And that's why you need to be in a frame of mind. Right? So whether it's after Fajr or a different time, you need to be in that frame of mind. So you need to be ready to contemplate. If you're worried, your kids are screaming, your phone's ringing, you have people knocking on the door, don't say, I'm going to contemplate the Quran now. It's crazy, like it doesn't work. Choose a time that is suitable, a place that is suitable. Right? If, for example, you go on holiday, one of the things I love doing is if you ever go for Mecca, Medina, that's the most amazing place to contemplate the Quran. I know that's not going to happen every month or so, but as a one-off. Or if you go on holiday, you have a beach, you're sitting on the beach, 10, 15 minutes, it's a beautiful scenery, go to Langkawi or somewhere, right? Go somewhere nice and just contemplate the Quran. Have somewhere where you have a bit of time to yourself and contemplate the Quran. Wondering whether the Quran is relevant to us today and in our context. Why? Because people, when they read the Quran, they don't see it being relevant. The way it becomes relevant is when you contemplate the Quran. So in Surah Naml, right, if you didn't hear this before, you would have thought it's just about an ant, some guy speaks to an ant, and so on. Right? It's like very distant. But actually, when you understand and you contemplate, Allah is giving us many lessons for us. The way we view our parents, the way we view blessings, the way that we interact with knowledge and so on. These are lessons for us. The Quran cannot tell everyone directly what to do because there's too many of us. The Quran always gives principles, always gives rules. You must extract the rules, contemplate over them, and learn how they affect you. Even I don't know how they affect you, because I don't know all of you that well. You must make that exercise for yourself. And that's why you find different companions used to be affected by different types of verses as well. We are surrounded by a materialistic society wherein there is little room for spirituality. Nature of life